Hello, and welcome to Sustainable Fashion in 5 Easy Steps with USW Fashion Design. Today we're going to discuss how to enhance the sustainable credentials of your design process in 5 easy steps. Step 1. Recontextualize the problem. Making the approach to sustainability a positive, not a negative. And here's an example. This is a negative. Washing garments contributes to massive marine pollution. And let's flip it around and turn it into a positive. Design a range of clothes that can be worn 100 times before washing. Here's that in practice. Here is a Ralph Lauren shirt, which needs to be washed after 1 or 2 wears. And here is a woolen prints button down that needs to be washed after 100 wears. Now, that is because the woolen print shirt is made out of a different fabric to the Ralph Lauren shirt. And that came about from a design and research process by Woolen Prints. Step 2, integrate the process. Making sustainable practice part of the design process. If you make sustainable thinking part of the process, then sustainability isn't separate. It's not enough to design a garment and then think at the end, how do I make this sustainable? Here's a non-integrated process. How do I create a jacket out of all these fabric scraps? Now that's focusing on the product and then trying to think about how to fit sustainability into the product. It doesn't work that way. The only way for it to work is to use the sustainable process to help you drive the aesthetics of your product. What shapes can I create from these fabric scraps? Here's an example. Fashion designer Holly McQuillan explored typography in her project from 2010 called War and Peace. Now, this project is a zero-waste pattern cutting project, so the shapes of the letters created the pattern pieces for her garments. And you can see here with War that those voids and shapes of the letters really change the way that the garment looks. We can see that again with Peace, that this pattern was printed directly onto the fabric, negating the need for paper patterns or a lay plan. Step 3, this one's a tough one, create a desirable object. Now this means creating a hierarchy of consumption that places sustainability with ethics. Now this can be controversial, but people buy clothes because they like the way they look. They want the aesthetic. Now this potentially creates a stronger emotional connection between the buyer and the garment, and people are less likely to throw away garments they have an emotional connection to. Something that is not desirable are garments that use sustainability to sell them, pure and first and foremost. Now this creates a negative impact on the consumer. They feel guilty not purchasing the garment. But garments that appeal to the consumer aesthetically and work within their lifestyle, but are also sustainable, create a desirable connection to sustainability. Here's an example of that. This is a Nike boot from 2007, part of their considered range. Now, the sales of this boot were fairly poor, and it was incredibly environmentally sustainable, revolutionized gluing techniques and assembly techniques, explored different fabric and different material uses, an exciting conceptual boot, but no one wanted to buy it because it is a really, really ugly shoe. In contrast is 2020's Nike Zoom X. Now, arguably this is an ugly shoe also, but uses all of the design thinking and all of the process-driven approach to problem solving that the other shoe didn't. It's exciting, it looks fast, it looks desirable. People feel when they wear it that they can run really quickly. It has that emotional connection to the user. Number 4, now this one's really, really important, is that we make our garments easy and our sustainable processes easy for the consumer and user to use. So you can do this by knowing your consumer and creating specific psychological and conceptual messages for them. And the way to do that is to involve them in the design process in a direct and meaningful way. Now, if we think about an example here, a garment that is required to be returned to the seller to be upcycled. Well, this is involving the consumer in the design process, but not in an easy, not in a direct, and not in a meaningful way. Let's look at easy, meaningful, and direct. A garment that can be buried and turned into compost. Now, you're engaging the consumer as part of the design process, the full design process that encompasses the lifespan of the garment itself. And here are some examples. This is a German label, Schmidt Takahashi, and this is a dress that's made out of post-consumer waste. So garments that have been sent to the label, disassembled, and then reassembled into new designs. Very exciting, lovely garments, but it requires an extra step from the wearer to package the garments and send them back to the label. If we look at this design in contrast by Vollerbach, this plant and algae t-shirt, this t-shirt is literally designed to be buried in a yard and to disappear into plant nourishing nutrients in a matter of weeks. A very direct and very simple and very easy approach. Lastly, and most importantly, it's that we think laterally about design. That we think about the whole process, we think about the whole lifespan of the garment, and to fully understand the problem before creating a solution. Often, the easiest way to solve a problem is to create a situation where this problem never occurs in the first place. So here is some non-lateral thinking. Oh no, we have enormous amounts of clothing waste. What do we do with post-consumer waste? That's waste that's been worn by the user, that's gone through the use phase. So how do we deal with this massive waste problem? Well, here's a lateral approach. We develop a clothes sharing scheme that uses existing social media like Instagram to avoid the need to buy clothes. Here is a massive pile of clothes waste. On average, people throw about 35 kilos of clothes every year. So we have to deal with that massive amount of waste, and landfills are absolutely full of old clothes. Here's a solution, a lateral solution. If we create a hashtag, shareware, that can be used on existing social media platforms, and this was done in Sweden several years ago, we eliminate the need to buy clothes because we borrow them instead, and we eliminate the need to throw away clothes because we lend them instead. So suddenly the overall volume of clothes reduces in the market, and clothing waste ceases to be a problem we have to deal with. Thank you so much for listening. Cheers.